Good morning or good afternoon, class, depending on when you're going to view this. I hope everybody is having a, well, probably by the time you watch or review this, probably the first couple of days of the semester. So I want to welcome you to Coastal Pines. I want to welcome you to English 1101, and of course to week 1 of a 16 and a half week, 17 week, however you want to look at it, fall semester. So what are we going to be doing over the next basically 4 months? Well, if you looked at the first introduction video, I sort of talked about how to manipulate and go through and discover stuff in Blackboard that would be helpful for your particular class. Since this is the first introduction sort of to the syllabus that I'm going to be doing for English 1101, we're going to talk a little bit about what that means as it relates to the syllabus, as it relates to maybe the assignment checklist, what to expect from week 1, week 2, week 3. Online courses for some are quite difficult. Not that they're really difficult, at least the English-wise. I mean, this is not something like an algebra class or a foreign language class or something that you're taking on that may be a little bit difficult to do online. There is a good bit of reading that you're going to have to do each week. There's a good bit of writing that you're going to have to do throughout the semester. And a lot of it is just basic time management. That's usually the key to life anyway, is how well can you manage your time. If you are a procrastinator, online courses generally are not all that great for that. If you're determined, if you like to work ahead, if you don't like to be late on stuff, you're sort of a self-motivator, motivation as it relates to your learning process, then a lot of folks, they thrive in the online environment. If you're taking multiple classes, I know there's going to be probably some dual enrollment students involved. You've got other extracurricular activities outside of this particular class, or if you got other classes from the college or at your high school, that could you're spreading your time up a lot. So what I would recommend is that you sort of create your own sort of timetable or schedule each week to do your work, not just for this class, but for your other classes. You will probably find that would be beneficial to not only your overall health. You won't be as stressed. You will remember and turn stuff in on time before the due date closes, or in this case, our drop box is closed. Your grades will probably overall improve as the semester moves on. And just, it's an overall good feeling to have when you don't feel like you're behind on one class or every class or whatever the case may be. So whatever tips and stuff like that I can give you, I will pass along as we move from week to week. Just to give you a little bit of introduction, my name is Patrick Wilson. I've been at Coastal Pines since 2013. teaching English, teaching learning support English, English 90, 1010, 1101, 1102, American Lit. I got my master's degree from Georgia Southern. I got my undergrad degree from the 4-year degree, the bachelor's degree from Armstrong, which is now Georgia Southern in Savannah. And I also get my associate's degree from the College of Coastal Georgia before it became a 4-year degree. I've been in the education sector, either as a substitute, a tutor, an adjunct, a teacher, really since I started college back in 1998. I've always been in some sort of form of higher education and also, you know, public and private school. I've done some tutoring work and sub work and teaching work there. So I've been through a whole gamut of education. You know, I've tutored and taught a little bit of math. You know, primarily my degree is in English with a minor in linguistics. I've had certain short stories, poems, critical essays published in various journal articles via print and online. So I've been published. I know what, you know, generally works as a really good, polished, published, professional academic, if it's going into that particular genre, work. And I, you know, look forward to working with each one of you during the 16 or 17 weeks that we have this fall semester. Again, reach out. Everybody has a Coastal Fine student email. I can't stress that enough. Email with an online course is probably going to be your best bet. I mean, as you can tell here, when we start going over the syllabus, I do have an office phone. You can call that. You can leave a message. But I usually, because we work Monday through Thursday, 10-hour days, I have a good bit of time throughout those 10-hour days to check the email. And usually I can get an email back. If it's something really short and simple, I can answer, you know, within a couple hours. If it's something that takes a little bit longer to find the answer, to get the answer to, depending on when you send the email, it may take a day. If it's during our off times, which is basically Friday through Sunday or a holiday, it may take up to 48 hours. Usually I try not to wait that long, especially if it's something I can answer, but I do check emails over the weekend. I don't live on my computer over the weekend. Obviously, I've got 2 young daughters and a wife. I try to have a life too, just like each one of y'all want to have a life when you have some off time. But I do check emails, and we'll answer questions and look at drafts and that type stuff, you know, as quickly as I can over the weekend. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the syllabus. And I'm not going to read you word from word. The syllabus is fairly lengthy. There's some hyperlinks in there that you can, you know, click on and go off to. I'm not going to, you know, insult your intelligence. I know you know how to read because you're here in this class. So I'm just going to sort of hit the high notes, and the syllabus is going to be up there the whole entire semester. So you have a chance to, you know, download it, go back and look at it, whatever the case may be, if you have any pressing issues. So I'm not going to read word for word. I'm just going to hit the, like I said, the high notes and move on. So let me share the screen here with everybody. And then we will just go through this and try to end it on a relatively, not take too long with the syllabus. I will probably have another video talking about the really the first week of work to do during the first week of class. So as you can tell, this is English 1101. It's composition and rhetoric. 45 total credit or contact hours. It's a 3-semester credit course. This is, of course, fall semester 2021. Again, my name is Patrick Wilson. My phone number is there, 912-522-4508. That's my office phone. You can leave a message. I'll get back with you if you want to go that way. My office room number is actually, I'm stationed in Camden, and it's 1214. But usually if I'm not in my office, if I'm teaching, because I do have 3 in-person classes if they all make, I will be in room 1216, which is basically sort of around the corner from my office. Generally, office hours right now, which these could change or vary, would be Monday through Thursday, 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. And then I do have some tutoring hours. Again, this could change because I think I'm going to mix it up a little bit. I'm going to have some in-person tutoring hours for 2 hours a week, and then I'm going to have some virtual tutoring hours for 2 hours when I'm not doing the in-person. So right now, let's say 4 to 5, but that's probably going to change, and I'll keep you abreast of that as we move on. And then, of course, my email is capital P, capital W. Make sure it's both capital P, capital W, because if it's lowercase, I'm never going to get it. Wilson@coastalpines.edu. Like I said, I can't stress this enough. There is a difference between Blackboard and your Coastal Pines student email account. Everybody that's a student here at Coastal Pines has their own personal login information, username and password for their Coastal Pines student email. When I send emails through Blackboard, they will go to that particular Coastal Pines student email account of yours. If you send emails from another email account like Hotmail, Gmail, or just Yahoo, whatever that's not really affiliated with the college, chances are I will never get it because of the firewall and security programs that they have placed in the computer system. So I would not be using alternative email addresses if you're trying to send me stuff. Send it through your official Coastal Pines email address. You can send stuff through Blackboard. You just can't receive emails from Blackboard. So you can send me emails all day long through Blackboard. If I respond, they're going to go to your actual Coastal Pines email account. They're not going to go to Blackboard. So just keep that in mind. As it relates to the description of the course, again, like I said, you can read the paragraph, but I sort of just paraphrase what we do here. Basically, 1101 is freshman English. At the college level, whether you're taking it here, taking it at CCGA, taking it at Emory, taking it at Harvard, Yale, taking it somewhere, overseas, England, Russia, it doesn't really matter. Freshman English is freshman English across the board. So what does that really entail? Well, it basically, we're going to get you ready to start writing at a professional, at a formal, at a scholarly and academic level. We're going to get your spelling and grammar on par with the type of writing that you're going to do, depending on if you're going for a 2-year degree or 4-year degree, if you're going higher for a master's or a doctorate. So that's why it's very important. Communication, verbal, oral communication is always important, but also the critical and analytical reading and thinking skills are also just as equally important to be successful, not only in academia, but also in a professional career. Some of y'all have probably aspirations to use some of these courses that you're currently taking now and transfer to, let's say, Valdosta or Georgia Southern. The longer you stay in education, depending on how far you want to go as far as the degree level goes, chances are a lot of the tests and quizzes are going to go bye-bye. And a lot of your grade is going to be in those classes determined by how well can you analyze, how well can you critically think and put argument, on paper, research, which is going to be a really good key component toward the end of our semester here. So we look at various different genres of writing. We start out with narration. Then we move into description. We may do compare and contrast or cause and effect. We may look at process writing, which is more of a technical deal. We may, we're definitely going to look at argumentation, and we usually end the last sort of month with research paper, right? We do the research. We go to, or you're going to go to rather, the library to collect sources, use the databases that we have that are academic and scholarly in nature, Galileo. We do a proposal, we do an annotated bib. So we basically, there's a lot of stuff that we're going to be doing throughout these 4 months. So generally, when we look at the assignment sheet, there's going to be something due just about every Sunday, unless it's otherwise noted on that assignment checklist, or if I email you or let you know ahead of time. So that's why it's going to be equally important. You're going to have at least 7 days to get a lot of this work accomplished and completed. Something longer, like an essay or something, you're going to have a period of weeks to get it done, usually 2 to 3 weeks. There's going to be draft sessions and draft processes that we're going to have to do with your classmates via online, since this is an online course. So it's going to be key that you manage your time and that you keep up with the readings and you keep up with, the deadlines and stuff, because it's a fast nature course, we don't have time to really slow down and stop, right? It's a college level course. We have a certain amount of things that we have to cover in 16 weeks. If you feel like you're getting too far behind, then maybe you need to start coming to a tutoring session, or you use smart thinking, which we talk a little bit more about that. That's really helpful when it comes to, you sending your rough drafts and having another set of eyes look at them. So don't wait, right? If you feel like you're overwhelmed, or you feel like that you're not doing too well, reach out, get in touch with me. It's easier to resolve some issues before they become really big issues and you let too much time get away from you to really address those. We will have at least 5 quizzes spread out throughout the semester. 4 of them are going to be on grammar stuff. Your online virtual OER textbook at the very end, I believe it's chapter 5, has a lot to deal with the grammar. Most of you, if you have a GED or if you have a high school diploma, you've done grammar before, whether it was in the 4th grade, the 8th grade, or the 12th grade, y'all done grammar before. So there's really nothing that's different about grammar. It may just have been a while since you've actually learned certain concepts or remembered what certain, terms were. Chances are, once you start looking at and reviewing some of the grammar, it will come back to you. But good grammar helps with the essays. If your spelling and your grammar is just all over the place, you're never going to write a good paragraph. You're never going to write a good essay. So that's why we do the grammar. And again, we go over that. I will probably do maybe, I will have sort of like a round table session where I will talk a little bit about the grammar for that week. If you want to come in, if you have questions, if you did some of the exercises and want to know if you're doing it right, you're going on the right track, we can do that. Because basically the grammar that's in your textbook, that's going to serve sort of as your study guide for the quizzes that deal with grammar. Now, your 5th quiz is going to deal with MLA. At this point, it's probably going to be MLA 9 edition of documentation and citation as it relates to your research paper. We talk a little bit more about the research paper and all of that after the midterm, which would be about week 9, week 10 for us. So again, you see here some special procedures about the COVID-19. Really doesn't have so much bearing on us since we're strictly online. But if you are doing some in-person classes at another campus, you might want to see what the instructor and what that particular campus or site has as protocol for COVID-19, because that's still sort of going around. Prerequisites, co-requisites, get some of the learning outcomes here. You can kind of read those: cognitive knowledge, cognitive synthesis, cognitive application. Again, some of that I just sort of talked about, but again, you have this syllabus. You can kind of go back and look at your own leisure. Computer policy, you want to click on that and read it. It's about a page or 2. Basically, I can kind of summarize it maybe this way. Be careful if you're using Wi-Fi or using a public computer like the college computer in the internet. If you're connected to us, just don't leave important information out like your email, username, your password, your bank account, that type deal, or people can come right behind you and kind of steal it or phish it from you. Be careful about the certain sites that you're looking at while you're using our Wi-Fi. The best example I can give of that, if you're looking at something on your laptop or your phone or your computer And if your mom and dad or grandma or grandpa looked over your shoulder, or your boss or your kids, if you have kids, or a significant other, would they be embarrassed to see, or would they be sort of ashamed of you of what you're looking at? So be careful. There are some hefty fines if you get caught. And again, I'm not going to go through the whole deal with the computer policy. Most people know how to treat the internet and the computer here on campus with professionalism and that type of stuff. If it becomes a problem, then I guess we're going to have to really dig deep a little bit more. But I mean, they know what you're sort of viewing and looking at by your student ID number. So just be smart with it. Because folks have been, not just at this college in the past, but colleges, throughout the world have got caught up in silly stuff that they downloaded or did on the internet and got busted for. And some faced jail time, some faced heavy fines. So in the long run, it's just not worth it, because you get kicked out, you get barred, and it's not smart. All right, our textbook, you can click on that hyperlink there, but I do have, if you watch part 1 of my video, I show you where you can actually click on a link inside your Blackboard page on the left-hand side that will take you to your actual textbook. Again, you don't have to buy a physical textbook here. Anything that's not in your textbook that I think that you need, I will put hyperlinks up in the weekly folders. So you don't really have to buy so much as it relates to a text or anything in this class. What I would suggest that you do is obviously have, a folder for this particular class, so you can save stuff that you download, print out, whatever that you're going to need throughout the semester. You're going to need a thumb drive or a zip drive so you can save your essays and your work. Obviously, pens and paper if you want to take notes. The MLA handbook, I will give you information about that. You can find a lot of that stuff online. You don't have to necessarily go out and buy one, because they're about 20 bucks if you're getting them brand new. The libraries have MLA handbooks. They may have the old edition, the 8th, because again, the 9th edition rolled out, I guess, sometime in April. We're starting to try to get that in. Certain public libraries may or may not have that in. The dictionary and thesaurus, again, you can find those online. So really, you need to have a really decent internet connection, especially when you're uploading work and that type deal. You don't want your internet to be sort of shoddy. It works Monday and Tuesday, but then, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and the rest of the week, it just sort of, it's up and down. So if, you really want to have a decent internet connection, you want to have a pretty up-to-date computer so it's not crashing or losing your work. Hence, that's why you need the flash drives to sort of save your work. And you want to have the latest version of Microsoft Word, because that's where you're going to type a lot of your work at, and save it as Microsoft document files, so you can upload and I can download, read, and grade. Be wary of the copyright notice. Again, I'm not going to go through all that. It's here. You can read it. You just want to be careful. It goes really more back into documentation and citation of your work a lot of times. We'll talk a little bit more about plagiarism as it gets later in the semester, right? You just don't want to copy, borrow, or steal somebody else's work without giving them proper citation, proper documentation, because it's their product, it's not yours. Because there's a lot of folks that, have been sued over that in the past. Here at the academic level, if you get caught cheating or plagiarizing, it's going to be a 0 on that particular assignment. If you do it a second time, you fail the course, and then you usually have to go before the powers to be at the college, and they determine how long they're going to either suspend you from the college, or are they just going to bar you from ever coming back to this college. So it's not smart to do. I usually have one person or two in each one of my classes every semester think they can get away with it, and they usually get busted for the first offense, which causes them to have a 0 on that assignment, and it drops their grade about 20 points. So after that, it's usually, they're always playing catch up, and that's the other thing. Zeros hurt. I would rather you turn something in and get a 15 than get a 0. And the reason why I'm saying that is because each 0 that you make in this particular class will drop you 20 points. It's like it will drop you 2 letter grades. So if you make 3 zeros, right, 20, 40, 60, basic math, take that from 100, your grade is at a 40. It's an F. It's going to be hard to pull that up because basically to be able to pull that 40 just up to a 70, you're going to have to nearly get 15 100s. In a lot of instances, we don't have, that many assignments. So if you find yourself, especially as it gets close to week 8, which is like the second week of October, which we consider midterm, that you're 50 or below, you probably want to consider dropping the course. Because the last 8 weeks are not going to be the easiest because it deals with research. It is very time consuming if you are procrastinating all that time. And chances are, if you got a 50 coming into week 8, that 50 is going to probably be a 20 or a 30 by the time we get to week 16, just because whatever you've been doing the last 8 weeks is not really improving anything. So just be wary of that. Again, talk to me when you notice things, and you start noticing that your grade is possibly slipping. Again, I can work wonders before I have to sit down and grade an assignment. That's the other thing. I have students, I didn't really understand the assignment. Well, you had 3 weeks to get help. You never got help. So you're telling me after I graded the assignment that you needed help when you know back at week 1 or week 2, you really needed the help. So don't be shocked, right? Somebody's paying for this course. You need to get the help. You want to pass this course the first time around, which would be the smart way, because nobody wants to take this course 3 or 4 times. It just delays graduation and other things in your life. So reach out and get the help if you need it. I'm here. That's what I get paid to do, is to help you. But I can't read minds. If I don't know that you're struggling or that you're needing help, I'm just going to assume, hey, you know what you're doing, and possibly the reason why you're not doing so well in the class is that you're just not, you're not interested, you're procrastinating, you just don't care, whatever the case may be. So you need to reach out, right? And that's not just for this class, that's for other classes too. If you need help for math or psychology or nursing, you need to reach out as early as possible when you start seeing problems creep up on you. Students with ADA or 504 disabilities, if you have any of those, you really need to have the proper documentation ready to go, and you need to email or call our Counseling of Special Service Director, Kathleen Montgomery. Her number is here and her email is here. I can't give you any special accommodations without having that academic accommodation, addressed through Kathy Montgomery's office, meaning you have to get your doctor's notes and all that stuff lined up and sent to her. Just coming up to me and saying, hey, I need extra time on a test, well, that's great, but I don't have documentation from Kathy Montgomery that says that you need extra time on the test. So you're going to have to go through the proper chain of command to be able to receive that. So just keep that in mind. The grading scale is basically on a 10-point increment. I do round if it's 0.5 or higher. Like here, it says 89.5. Well, that would become a 90. If it's an 89.4, well, it's going to become an 89. So if it's 0.4 or lower, it rounds down to that nearest whole letter grade. If it's 0.5 or higher, I'll round up. So anything basically at this point, 90 to 100 is A. 80 to an 89 is a B, 70 to 79 is a C, 60 to 69 is a D, and then anything below 59 is an F. Generally, most folks need to get a C or higher in this class for it to really transfer to count. So again, if you start seeing your grade in between the F and D range, we need to talk, especially as it gets closer to midterm, because you do have a chance. If you feel like you have too much going on in your life, and you need to drop the course, then you need to do so before the midterm point, because then it won't count against you. Now, if you wait until November after the midterm point is passed, it's going to hurt your, it's going to count against you, meaning it's probably going to hurt your financial aid or whatever Pell Grant you have going forward. So just keep that in mind, and that's not just for this class, that's for other classes too. The example of the weights, this is how you're going to be graded. I have weekly multi, which is basically for us is going to be anything, stuff like peer reviews, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as it relates to your essays, because we're going to be doing, most of your stuff is going to be done outside of class via Blackboard. So it's not like you're going to be coming to class and meeting me 2 days or 3 days a week. So when you look at the footnote and it says includes any assignments, well, it does. It includes any assignments that I would consider in-class stuff, but that we're doing online, like the peer reviews, the quizzes, that type stuff. So if you look, it's 10% of your grade. It's not a big chunk, but if you start doing really poorly on those over time, it's going to really impact the grade, because it's going to be that difference between getting maybe that A or the B, because it is 10%. It's basically a letter grade. Essays 1 through 4, as you can tell, I broke those up. Essay 1 is worth 11%, 2, 12%, 3, 13%, 4, 14%. Collectively, they're 50% of your grade. So that's a big chunk, right? If you look at the weekly, monthly stuff and the essays collectively, that's 60% of your grade right there. So that's why I strongly suggest that you take the peer review process that we're going to do throughout each week with each one of our essays seriously, that you use the online tutorial smart thinking as much as possible, and that you send me as many drafts as possible. Because at 50% of your grade, this is something you don't want to play around with. If you look at the research paper, it's 25% of your grade. There's 3 components to that, or really 2. You have your proposal and the annotated bill. We'll talk a little bit more about that, like I said, about week 9, week 10. But again, that's 25% of your grade. That's like 2.5 letter grades. So that is a big chunk of your grade as well. Final exam is 15%. The final exam is going to be sort of a timed essay. It's going to be a reflection / definition type paper. We'll talk a little bit more in November. It's going to happen really during the final exam period. You basically have 2 days to do that in December, and you're going to have to use ProctorU. If you are new to the whole deal with online learning and ProctorU, there's information in the syllabus about ProctorU. I will send out handouts and stuff about ProctorU as it gets closer, but you're going to have to take your final exam, not just for this online course, but if you're taking multiple online courses, you're going to have to set up ProctorU, probably either a midterm or a final exam that you're going to have to take. So just keep that in mind. You're going to have an account created, username and password. You're going to have a working webcam and a working web mic. Working computer, stable internet. Again, we'll talk a little bit more as it gets closer to November about the whole deal with ProctorU. But that's the only way you're going to be able to take the final exam in this course, is by using Blackboard and ProctorU. We talked a little bit about falsification of records and cheating and plagiarism. Again, first offense, second offense. Usually I see this as it gets closer to the end of the semester when we're doing the research. And the college really doesn't look at, whether you did it intentionally or unintentionally. They see cheating as cheating and plagiarizing as plagiarizing. So you can't really use that excuse, oh, I didn't know, or somebody else did it to me, I didn't do nothing. Wrong, because you see a lot of folks on Twitter and Facebook, they take links and they don't really give proper credit, and they just think it's okay, and it's not okay. So again, as it gets closer to the research paper, we will be hitting this a little bit harder, but you can find all the information here, and this is probably not your first rodeo about cheating. Cheating is wrong. Cheating will give you a 0 and failure from the course. Same thing with plagiarism. So if you went to a public or a private school or even homeschool, you know about cheating and plagiarism. So this is not something that you just learn today. Just don't, the simplest thing I can tell you to do to avoid getting caught up in the first and the second offense is simply just to do not cheat and do not plagiarize. Usually most folks learn after the first, because they see that 0 and they see that it's dropped their A to a C, or their B to a D, or their C to an F, because it will drop your grade quickly, right? And we have ways of knowing that you're cheating. We have plagiarism programs. Turn it in, safe assign every time that you upload a quiz for me or a paper for me. It runs through that, and about 99% of the time, it will catch those that are cheating and plagiarizing. If you're borrowing a paper, if you're buying a paper, If you're getting something that, somebody took this course, 7 years ago and it's still out there online, it's going to find it. You will get caught eventually. So please just not do it. We do have tutoring services. Like I said, we're starting to bring that a little bit back. It all depends on how COVID and these new variants, how long they're going to sort of linger around for the next 4 months, I guess. I will do some in-person tutoring, probably 2 hours a week, and I probably do 2 hours a week of virtual online tutoring. If you're one that really would enjoy or need the in-person thing, email me, let me know. We can set up a time, probably meet in the library, maybe another classroom. But you're just going to have to follow the COVID protocols for the building, right? You're probably going to need to wear your mask. You're going to have to, remain the 6 feet or the 3 feet apart, wash your hands, that type stuff. If we're doing it online, then, you can basically do it privacy in your own home. You don't have to wear the mask on or anything like that, right? So just keep that in mind. Smart thinking is there. It'll probably be after a week, especially if you're a new student, for smart thinking to get all the new information for fall semester rolling in their system. If you have been here for a few semesters, then your stuff should be already there. You might be able, by the end of the first week, start using smart thinking for uploading rough drafts for them to look at. You can use smart thinking basically for any college class that we offer, right? Math, Spanish, psychology. It's free. It's 24/7. Definitely take advantage of it when you need the help. You can basically use it anywhere that you have internet capabilities. Usually when you use it for this class, we do it for the rough drafts. If you submit a paper, sometimes you get it back within 4 or 5 hours. Sometimes it can take up to 2 days. So depending on how busy they are, being how is there other, because they don't just cater to us, they cater to other colleges throughout the states and maybe the world for that matter. So it's going to determine on what all is happening for other colleges, how many other papers are being due at the same time, midterms, finals, that type deal, and how many folks they have on staff. Because of COVID and everything, we know that there's been a shortage of employees at various places. So this could be one place that, instead of having 10 people on staff, they only have 5 now. So just keep that in mind. I wouldn't wait until a day or two before an essay is due to submit something to them. I would probably at least give them, about a week, maybe 5 days before something is due. So to give you enough time to they can read it, they can address the issues, they can email it back to you, you can look at it and revise it and do whatever you need to do. Again, you have a guarantee statement of non-discrimination and compliance. You can kind of look at that. We do have human resource director's name, number, and address. Same thing with the Title IX coordinator. This is what I was talking about, the ProctorU, and it's really for online courses only. I would take time, especially as it gets closer to December, to read through this. I would say, by the time we go to Thanksgiving break, which I guess is about the 3rd or 4th week of November, you need to have your ProctorU set up. You need to be basically ready to go for ProctorU, because when we come back from that break, we're only going to have about a week and a half, and then it's time for you to take the final. And you don't want to wait to get everything that you need to get set up and prepared for this. Now, you get to the point where you realize wherever you live that your computer is just really kind of old, the internet is really shoddy, it works when it wants to work, then you can kind of set up a schedule with the testing center at the college closest to you, and you can use our equipment. You'd still need to have your ProctorU account set up and stuff, because you have to log into that and Blackboard at the same time. You would just have to go by their hours and their scheduling. So that is a option that you can use. If you don't want to spend the money for the webcam and all of that, you can always take it at the actual college. You just want to sort of keep in mind that most colleges during the fall will probably be 8 to 6. Some may be sooner, some end sooner. Some may be able to go a little bit longer. but you want to prepare for that if you decide to use a testing center at the college for the ProctorU event. The other thing is um, there may be a wait time, especially if other students are taking a test at a testing center. You may have something scheduled for 10 o'clock. You get there at 9:30 and realize that the room is filled up. You may have to wait till 11 o'clock just because of COVID and everything else going on. So if you work in that type deal, you might want to let your bosses know ahead of time that, hey, I need to take a whole day off or take a half day off or whatever the case may be. So you're not trying to rush through it, because the ProctorU test is 60 minutes for everybody because the college pays for it. That's why we can't restart it, reset it. You have to take it in one setting. It's a sort of one and done type deal. So that's why you want to be careful. You want to be fully prepared before you click begin and take it, because once you do, that's it. You're going to have to complete it within an hour. And once that hour is over, that's it, right? So again, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Make sure that you have a government issue ID, whether it's a driver's license or a student ID. You're going to need that. And it also tells you some of the other materials you're going to need to get this thing working. ProctorU usually works on desktops and laptops the best. It may work on a tablet. I'm not really sure. I can tell you it's definitely not going to work on your smartphone. So I wouldn't even try to download anything ProctorU, because you're just not going to be able to do it correctly or effectively on your smartphone. In fact, they want you to leave your phones out of view, out of sight when you're taking a ProctorU, just because they flag it. They can kind of look at it and say, hey, this person's getting a text or looking stuff up, and they must be cheating. So I wouldn't even bring a cell phone when you're taking ProctorU events. Campus security, depending on which campus you're closest to, you can see here there's numbers. Since you're doing this online, chances are you're probably not going to need the campus security unless you're actually doing some online and some in-person classes, but there you go. Stuff in the syllabus is subject to change, meaning if I'm going to change a due date, or if I'm adding an assignment or taking away an assignment, I will let you know, generally within a 24-hour, sometimes longer period of time. But I do have the right to change certain things. Usually I don't. I mean, if I do anything, it's sort of like I extend a deadline a little bit because it helps you and it helps me. I usually don't add more than what we have because we have plenty. I usually don't take too much away either, but definitely I probably won't add. If anything, I will extend the time on something if I feel like we need additional time on it. Generally, like I said, stuff is going to be due Sundays unless otherwise noted. So just be mindful of that. You pretty much know what, every Sunday you're going to have a due date for this class. Class conduct. I mean, obviously that should be go without saying. You want to have professionalism, even since it's going to be strictly online. Again, you can kind of read that paragraph. You know how to, if you work, you know how to conduct yourself as a professional. If your parents should have taught you manners at some point. So hopefully we don't have to do anything with professionalism and that type of stuff, especially at the college level at this point, since we're dealing with 18-year-olds and older usually. Most of us know how to act, whether it's in person or online. Laptop, smartphone policy, again, that's not so much of a big deal unless you're taking a ProctorU thing. But again, I would recommend that you look at the internet and computer policy as it relates to laptop. Smartphone policy, again, it's online. I just wouldn't take it to the ProctorU event. Late work, make up work. Because there's so much stuff that we have to do from one week to the next, we just don't have time for makeup or late work. I give you enough time to get the work done. You can turn stuff in earlier, which I would recommend. I would recommend that you turn stuff in earlier than to try to make it up or turn in late, because you can't. So you pretty much know deadlines are going to be by Sundays 11:59. So at midnight, when it becomes Monday, the Dropbox disappears and closes. So you're never going to be able to go back and turn something in late. So if it's late, then you're just going to have to eat the 0. Which again, you get 3 of them, you're going to be at a 40 rather quickly in this class. So I would, it's better to turn something in than not to turn anything at all. If, something happens and you need to be out of town or something, again, you can turn stuff in earlier. You have that option. If you got to take the final exam, the ProctorU, earlier, we can set that up and you can take it a week or so earlier, whatever the case may be. So I'd rather you take stuff or submit stuff in earlier than late, because it bombards me, because I got 5 other classes with a lot of grading. I can't get the feedback to you in a timely manner now because you're late. And it's just, it becomes a really big problem, not only for you, but for me. I try to keep grades updated weekly. I'm not one that likes to hold on to grades until the very end of the semester, and that's when you're going to know whether you passed or you fail. I usually, each week, or at least every 2 weeks, your grade is going to be up to date. So you're going to know if you got that A or that B or that C or that D or that F or whatever it is. Pretty much real time, weekly. The only time where it may take a little bit of time to grade is when I'm grading essays from everybody, right? From my other 5 classes as well. But I try to have a good turnaround with those, about a 2 week, if not sooner. All right, so you see here a couple other things that you can kind of look at. I know this video is getting kind of long. This is sort of our daily schedule or our weekly schedule. When you go onto your Blackboard course page, you can see sort of similar stuff. But this is what we're going to do week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, and these are going to be in folders, right? I give you page numbers that correspond with your e-text. The stuff that's not in your e-text, like Essay 1 topic, I will have a link or a file or something in your folder. Same thing here. You get a web link, you can click on that, but it's also in your folder, and I'll show you what I mean by that here in a minute. So I provided the page numbers that you're going to need in your textbook. What I don't provide page numbers to will be in weekly folders with a hyperlink. What I would suggest, because sometimes these hyperlinks get broken over time. They worked for me last week, but in 3 weeks, they may not. Let me know when you start having issues and you can't pull stuff up, because chances are, if there's 25 or 26 of you in this class, then the other 24 or 25 are not going to be able to pull it up, and I need to be able to give you a fresh link that will work, because chances are you're going to need that particular material to sort of help you out with that week's assignments or whatever. So as you can tell, 16 and a half, 17 weeks, however you want to look at it. This is our course. Let's look real quick. Again, I found the syllabus here, right underneath the home page. There's a assignment checklist that's a little bit more involved. I also put up this sort of quick and easy version, which cuts out a lot of the other unnecessary stuff, in my opinion. But this tells you what the assignment is and when it's due. So if you look, we basically, for this particular course, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We have about 13 assignments, not counting some of the peer reviews that I don't really have up there. These are just mainly big major assignments. The peer reviews are going to happen in between each one of these essays. So you're going to have like part 1 and part 2 of peer review of essay 1, essay 2, essay 3, essay 4, and probably the research paper. So if you look at it that way, when you add the peer reviews, that, part 1, part 2, that's 10, so 30, so you're nearly going to have about 23 assignments overall. So that's basically, 1, maybe 2 a week. It's a good bit to do. That's why I say I'm probably not going to give you any more to do, because you have enough to do here in 16 weeks. We do have a holiday. We have a couple holidays, I guess. Let's see. I think Labor Day, I had to double check. It's really not going to impact us so much because we are online. I want to say it's Monday, September 6th. It's that first Monday or so in September. And then we have the Thanksgiving break, which will happen really the 23rd through the 28th of November. So again, a lot of the holidays and stuff doesn't really impact us so much because we're not meeting in class, everything's online. So just because there's a holiday in there doesn't mean you don't have something to do the other days of that week. The holidays could also give you a chance to get ahead. So as you can tell, like I said, some things are going to be due on Sundays, some things are going to be due on Thursdays, and then some things are going to be due on Wednesdays. So just keep in mind of the due dates, the due times, that type stuff, and it'll also be in your weekly folder. So it won't be anything that you have to guess about. Again, the textbook is right here. You click on it, it's going to take you there. Let's look at our lessons real quick. Now on your end, this is not really going to pop up until the first day of the semester, which is going to be the 23rd of August. So basically this coming Monday. But what's going to happen is, generally, except maybe from week 1 and our final week, your weeks are going to last from Sunday to Sunday. So you're going to have a full 7-day period. I sort of give you an overview of what we're doing. Again, and this is just basically left off the syllabus. It tells you the page numbers, tells you what we're going to be covering this week. You click on the actual folder, and it gives you some other information that you can't find in your textbook, like the essay 1, which is narration that we're going to be talking about next week. And then your first assignment, which is part 1 of the peer review, which is basically, in this case, it's you writing your first rough draft of your narration. So you click here, you review the topics, and again, we're probably going to get more involved with that next week. And then you go through here and you follow this instructions and you just upload your rough draft. Part 2 is going to be you actually going through the peer review process by looking at one of your classmates' rough drafts and then using this CARES method as it relates to reading that essay and asking and answering these questions based on what your partner, your classmate did in their narration. Again, we'll talk a little bit more probably about this Monday or Tuesday next. So you do have something that's going to be due the 29th, which is that first Sunday of week 1, right? So just keep that in mind. And it's really the peer review stuff is 50-50, meaning 50% of your grade is going to be, part 1. Did you do your rough draft? Did you upload it before the 29th? That's 50% of your grade right there. So if you turn something in, you're at a 50. If you don't turn anything in, you're at a 0. And that's going to really be bad for the next part because you're shortchanging yourself, 1, getting help from your classmates, but 2, your classmate may not have as many essays to look at or read, so you're sort of hurting their grade. So that's why it's important that we all work together and get our drafts in, because it's going to help everybody over time as it relates to the grade. Because part 2 is that evaluation process. That's where your other 50% comes in. So if you're already at a 0 with part 1, the highest you can make would be a 50 when it deals with these drafting sessions. So be careful of that, right? You don't want to go ahead and start week 1 with a 50. Going back to the lesson page, every Thursday at midnight, the next week folder will sort of open up. So that'll give you about 3 or 4 days that you can go ahead and get a head start on week 2 if you feel confident about where you are on week 1. Now at midnight on Sunday, all the drop boxes and all the weekly folders for that week will go away. They basically close up, shut down, disappear. So if you need to download or bookmark or save any of this information from each week, you have a 7-day period to do that. Because once the next folder opens up, that's where our focus needs to be. So don't, that's why I say have a folder that you can print out and keep all this stuff in so you can go back and review it if you need to, let's say back in week 5, because you forgot to get the stuff from week 3 and you really need it for week 5, well, the folder's disappeared. So unless you know somebody in the class that you can actually email and they did the right thing and the smart thing and printed out everything and they can send you a copy, then you're sort of going to be out of luck, because it's going to be your responsibility to make sure that you download this stuff or save it somewhere. So again, every Sunday at midnight, whatever Dropbox is there goes away. That particular weekly folder will go away. Every Thursday, the new weekly folder for the following week will open up, and it will basically go from Thursday to the following Sunday. So what I'm getting at is week 1 will stay open until the 29th. Week 2 is actually going to open up on the 26th or the 27th and stay open until the 5th. So you're always going to have that 3 or 4 day overlap. Take advantage of that, especially if you got a lot of other classes that are a little bit more pressing. Otherwise, that's pretty much it. I mean, again, we'll probably talk a little bit more about week 1, excuse me, in more detail next week. If you have any questions, please reach out. Email me. Let me know your concerns, your issues, so we can properly address them then. Otherwise, I hope everybody has a good rest of the week. I hope they start their week 1 off on a good foot. And I look forward to working with everybody starting next week. Have a good weekend.